Love stories don't always have fairy tale endings. Just ask Michelle and Barack Obama. The once iconic power couple is officially divorced, sending shockwaves across the globe. Was it a sudden collapse, or has the foundation been cracking all along? The internet is in a frenzy, drowning in wild speculation and jaw-dropping rumors. But what's fact, and what's fiction? Buckle up, because we're diving deep into the truth behind their stunning breakup, and trust us, you won't believe what we've uncovered. When gossip becomes truth, the internet lives for speculation, and when a high-profile figure suddenly changes their routine, people take notice. So when Michelle Obama started skipping major public events, the whispers began. At first, it was just a casual question. Where's Michelle? But on social media, curiosity is never just harmless chatter. It builds, twists, and before long, a full-blown rumor is born. Michelle was always seen as Barack's steady anchor, not just his wife, but a key figure in American history. When Barack started attending major events alone, the internet connected the dots, even when there were no dots to connect. Suddenly, every event without Michelle became proof of trouble. A missing photo, a quiet moment, and suddenly, the internet had a theory. Was Michelle avoiding the public? Was their marriage falling apart? Every appearance, or lack thereof, was treated as evidence. Then came the wedding ring drama. Barack was spotted without his ring, and that was all it took. Never mind the fact that rings come off for 1,000 reasons. In the world of internet sleuths, there was only one explanation: divorce. Screenshots of old photos circulated. People analyzed his past appearances. He always wore it before. So why not now? The speculation exploded. And the digging didn't stop there. Old interviews were pulled apart. Michelle's past words given new meaning. That speech where she called marriage hard work? Now it was a warning sign. A solo vacation? Proof she was preparing for life without Barack. Never mind that Michelle had always been independent, taken solo trips, and championed her own path. Now, every move was a coded message. The internet wasn't just spreading stories. It was creating a new reality. A blurry paparazzi photo of Michelle in another city? That wasn't just a random sighting. It became a headline. Michelle is moving out. When she shifted focus to her own projects, it wasn't ambition. It was a sign she was pulling away from Barack. Their silence only fueled the chaos. When there are no answers, the internet makes up its own. And then, the final shock, the Obamas' split was real. What started as whispers had become the truth. Millions were left wondering what really happened behind closed doors. The truth might shock you even more. The Obamas. A journey through time. Before they became the most recognized couple in America, they were just two ambitious individuals on separate paths. In 1989, Michelle Robinson, a brilliant young lawyer, was tasked with mentoring a summer intern at Sidley Austin in Chicago. That intern? A charismatic Harvard law student named Barack Obama, a man with big ideas, undeniable confidence, and a vision for change. At first, Michelle was skeptical. Barack wasn't like the others. He carried a sense of purpose far beyond personal ambition. He didn't just chase success, he wanted to change lives. What started as professional guidance quickly evolved into deep conversations about politics, society, and family. Hours of discussion turned into something more, a connection built on shared values and mutual respect. In 1992, they made it official. Their wedding was intimate yet meaningful, reflecting their grounded approach to life. But marriage, even for a power couple, isn't always smooth sailing. Barack was laser-focused on his political aspirations, while Michelle was committed to her own career. Balancing personal goals, work, and their relationship required constant effort. Things intensified when Barack entered politics. Campaigns meant endless hours, constant travel, and time apart. Michelle stood by his side, but the strain was real. By 1996, when he was elected to the Illinois State Senate, they welcomed their first daughter, Malia. Michelle now had to juggle career and motherhood, while Barack's political career demanded more and more of him. Then, in 2004, everything changed. Barack's electrifying speech at the Democratic National Convention catapulted him into the national spotlight. Overnight, the Obamas became a household name. Suddenly, their lives were no longer just their own. They belonged to the public. Every move, every statement, even their marriage itself, became a subject of national scrutiny. The world was watching, and the pressure was only beginning. The Obamas, power, pressure, and the White House. In 2008, Barack Obama's presidential campaign wasn't just another election. It was a moment that had the potential to reshape history. Michelle, once cautious about entering the political spotlight, stepped up in a way no one expected. She wasn't just a candidate's wife. She was a powerhouse on the campaign trail, delivering speeches, engaging with voters, and rallying support. But behind the scenes, the pressure was immense. Running for president wasn't just about policy and leadership, it was about public image, relentless media scrutiny, and the constant stress of being under a national microscope. Every word was analyzed, every action criticized. Even personal disagreements, the kind every couple has, were magnified into headlines. Yet through the chaos, Michelle and Barack remained a team, determined to see the journey through, together. When Barack won the presidency, it was a defining moment in American history. The Obamas became the first black-first family, a symbol of hope, change, and progress. But the celebration was short-lived, as the reality of life in the White House set in quickly. Their every move was dissected, their decisions scrutinized, their personal lives no longer their own. Michelle took on her new role with purpose, championing causes she deeply cared about: healthy living, education, and military families, while also navigating the enormous expectations placed on her. Being First Lady meant constantly walking a tightrope between influence and restraint. No matter what she did, there were critics. Her fashion choices were debated, her words endlessly analyzed, and even her body language turned into political commentary. But the real challenges were behind closed doors. The presidency wasn't just about leading a country, it was about sacrifices. Long nights, endless meetings, high-stakes decisions, and the crushing weight of responsibility took its toll. Michelle had always been a strong, independent woman with her own career and ambitions, but now she had to redefine her role. She supported Barack, but she also needed to carve out her own space, ensuring she didn't lose herself in the demands of being First Lady. When they left the White House in 2017, it was a bittersweet goodbye. There was relief, a sense of accomplishment, but also the daunting task of adjusting to a new reality. After 8 years of living under the world's watchful eye, they had to figure out what came next, not just as individuals, but as a couple whose entire marriage had played out on the national stage. The White House chapter had closed, but their story was far from over. Michelle and Barack, the moment they chose separate paths. After 8 years at the center of American politics, the Obamas stepped into a new chapter, but it wasn't the same one. Barack poured himself into writing, crafting his memoir while staying active in political leadership. Michelle, no longer just the president's wife, told her own story in becoming, opening up about her struggles, her dreams, and her evolution beyond the White House. Together, they built the Obama Foundation, dedicated to inspiring the next generation of leaders. But beneath it all, something was shifting. They were no longer just Michelle and Barack, the power couple. They had become two individuals on separate journeys, each redefining what they wanted out of life. Michelle's focus turned toward empowering women, advocating for education, self-growth, and independence. Barack remained deeply invested in political strategy, policy work, and global leadership. They still supported each other, but their relationship was no longer the same. A marriage like theirs, one that had endured years of pressure, responsibility, and sacrifice, doesn't just fall apart overnight. It unravels slowly, through small realizations, unspoken thoughts, and shifting priorities. For Michelle and Barack, the decision to separate wasn't about betrayal or failure, it was about growth. It was the recognition that love, no matter how deep, doesn't always mean staying in the same place forever. For years, their lives had been defined by duty. Campaign trails, public appearances, late-night policy discussions, it was all part of their shared mission. They weren't just husband and wife, they were partners in history, bound by a higher purpose. Every move they made wasn't just about their marriage. It affected millions of people watching from the outside. Then, the White House years ended. And for the first time in a decade, there were no speeches to give, no elections to win, no schedule dictating their every move. The force that had held them together, the unbreakable pull of a shared political destiny, was suddenly gone. And what remained were two people standing at a crossroads, trying to figure out who they were without the world watching. At first, they tried to adjust. They traveled together, wrote their books, and built their foundation. The love and admiration were still there, but something had changed. Michelle began focusing on new projects that truly fulfilled her, mentoring young women, writing, and supporting causes she believed in. Barack, ever the politician, remained deeply engaged in shaping policies, defending democracy, and continuing his role as a global leader. But after years of molding her life around Barack's presidency, Michelle began asking herself a question she had never fully considered. Who am I if I'm not Barack Obama's wife? If you enjoyed this video, drop a 1 in the comments, and if not, let me know with a 0. I appreciate your feedback. Choosing to let go. For years, Michelle had sacrificed pieces of herself for something bigger than personal ambition. She had dedicated her time, her energy, and even parts of her own identity to support Barack's presidency, their family, and the vision they built together. But now, she wanted those pieces back. She longed for the freedom to evolve, to rediscover herself beyond the role of a political partner. For Barack, the shift was different. Politics had always been his calling, and even outside the White House, that fire still burned. He wanted to shape policies, influence change, and lead in the way he always had. He admired Michelle's journey, her growth, her passion for empowering others, her drive to step into her own spotlight, but he was on a different path. The bond between them remained strong, built on years of shared history and respect, but it was clear their futures no longer aligned the way they once did. The decision to separate wasn't impulsive. It wasn't fueled by anger, scandal, or betrayal. It was the result of deep conversations, quiet realizations, and the painful understanding that sometimes love means knowing when to let go. There were no public meltdowns, no dramatic fights, no messy headlines, just two people who had built something incredible together, finally accepting that they had changed, becoming different versions of themselves. When news of their split broke, the world was stunned. How could a couple that had stood the test of time, survived the pressure of the presidency, and seemed so solid, choose to walk away? But the truth is, Michelle and Barack never chased perfection. Their relationship was built on honesty, and it was that very honesty that led them to this decision. Michelle after divorce. For years, Michelle Obama carried the weight of expectations. Lawyer, First Lady, Barack Obama's wife. These labels followed her everywhere. But after the divorce, she faced a life-altering reality. She was no longer part of a political power duo. For the first time in decades, she had to define herself, not as someone's partner, but as her own person. The transition wasn't easy. Public perception didn't change overnight. Many still saw her through the lens of her past, but Michelle was determined to shape her own future. Her passion had always been helping women, promoting education, and improving mental and physical well-being. Now, she could pursue these causes without the shadow of political scrutiny, without the pressure of maintaining a presidential image. One of her biggest priorities post-divorce was continuing her leadership in the Obama Foundation. While the foundation had always been a joint effort, Michelle took charge of her own initiatives, focusing on empowering young girls worldwide. Through her Girls' Opportunity Alliance, she worked to provide leadership training and education for underprivileged girls, ensuring they had the tools to succeed. Michelle was no longer just recognized for her past. She was becoming a global force in her own right. Her influence in public speaking also reached new heights. No longer introducing herself as the wife of a former president, Michelle commanded stages as a leader in her own right. Her speeches resonated with audiences, tackling female empowerment, personal struggles, and the challenges of reinvention. She openly addressed the emotional toll of change, offering lessons from her own journey. The demand for her presence skyrocketed. Events sold out within minutes, proving that her impact went far beyond her former role. Her writing also evolved. After the monumental success of Becoming, Michelle released another deeply personal book, but this time, it wasn't just about her past. It was about navigating life's unexpected transformations. She shared insights on self-discovery, resilience, and learning to stand on her own after years of being part of a larger narrative. It wasn't a book about divorce, it was a book about starting over. And it struck a chord, especially with women facing major life changes, cementing Michelle's place as a voice of strength and reinvention. Freedom and reinvention. Post-divorce, Michelle Obama made herself the priority. Not politics, not public expectations, just her own well-being. Health had always been a passion of hers, but now she embraced it on a deeper, personal level. She committed to fitness, meditation, and surrounding herself with positive influences. Without the constraints of maintaining a political image, she allowed herself to fully enjoy life, hiking, traveling, even dancing at public events with a newfound sense of freedom. But the past doesn't just disappear. No matter how much she evolved, the world still tied her story to Barack's. Every interview circled back to the same question: her divorce. But Michelle refused to let one chapter define her entire book. She answered gracefully, always steering the conversation toward her future rather than her past. She was more than a former First Lady, more than Barack Obama's ex-wife. She was Michelle Obama, a leader, a visionary, a woman shaping her own destiny. And she wasn't stepping away from public life. She was embracing it on her own terms. No longer bound by the unspoken rules of political decorum, Michelle spoke freely, worked on her own schedule, and pursued projects she truly loved. One of her biggest endeavors? Launching a groundbreaking mentorship and leadership program for young women designed to equip them with the skills to build their own futures. The initiative provided scholarships, professional training, and personal mentorship, creating a pathway for young women to step into positions of power and influence. Michelle Obama's journey after divorce is proving to be as powerful as her years in the White House. But is the world ready to see her as more than just Barack's past? The world reacts. The moment the news broke, the internet erupted in shock. Within minutes, social media exploded. Some were heartbroken, some were in disbelief, and others rushed to play detective, analyzing every possible reason behind Michelle and Barack Obama's separation. The Obamas had been more than just a couple. They were a symbol of unity, strength, and hope. Their love story had been public for years, and now, so was their breakup. The media pounced immediately. Headlines framed the divorce as a mystery to be solved rather than a personal decision. Theories spread fast. Some claimed Barack grew distant after leaving office, while others suggested Michelle had finally reached her limit after years of adapting to his world. But the media wasn't interested in the simple truth that two people had grown apart. Drama sold better. Then came the paparazzi frenzy. A single photo of Michelle smiling at an event became evidence that she had moved on. A shot of Barack looking serious? Clearly, he was devastated. Their expressions, gestures, even their silence became clues in a narrative the world was desperate to control. Social media only fueled the chaos. Hashtags like Obama divorce trended globally. Old interviews were dug up and reinterpreted. A clip of Michelle once admitting marriage was hard work was suddenly framed as a warning we all missed. But speculation needed more than just reality. People wanted scandal. Some refused to believe the breakup was just two people changing. There had to be infidelity, betrayal, or some secret bombshell waiting to drop. But there wasn't. No cheating. No scandal. Just life moving forward. And that didn't make for a juicy headline. Through it all, Michelle and Barack refused to engage. They issued a brief statement and left it at that. No public meltdowns, no messy tell-alls. They wouldn't let their divorce be turned into a circus for public consumption. Their silence forced people to confront an uncomfortable truth. Sometimes even the strongest love stories don't end in tragedy, but in acceptance. Still, the world craved more. People wanted a tearful confession, a moment of raw vulnerability, some kind of explanation that fit the narrative they had built around this couple for years. But Michelle and Barack had spent decades handling public scrutiny with grace, and they weren't about to let their private lives become entertainment now. The impact and the future. Michelle and Barack Obama's divorce wasn't just a private decision. It became a cultural moment, forcing people to rethink what they expect from love, relationships, and public figures. The reaction to their split revealed an unspoken belief that high-profile marriages should last forever, as if longevity alone defines success. But does it? For years, the Obamas represented strength, stability, and unity. They endured political storms, global scrutiny, and life in the White House without public scandal. People didn't just admire them, they idolized their relationship. Their divorce felt like a fracture in the perfect idea of love, challenging the belief that true partnership means staying together no matter what. Sociologists point out that our culture's obsession with forever love makes it difficult to accept that relationships evolve. Dr. Emily Carter, a psychologist specializing in marriage and public life, explains, "When celebrities get divorced, the world sees it as failure rather than change. In reality, the healthiest relationships are those that grow and adapt, even if that means letting go." Clinical psychologist Dr. Anthony Wells believes that the public's reaction to celebrity breakups is deeply personal. People project their own fears onto these divorces, he explains. They measure their own relationships against them, questioning what love truly means. Many wanted the Obamas to stay together, not just for themselves, but as proof that lasting love still exists. But their separation doesn't erase their legacy, it strengthens it. Even though they're no longer together as a couple, Michelle and Barack still work as partners. Their biggest post-White House initiative, the Obama Foundation, remains a joint effort, focused on empowering young leaders, defending democracy, and creating social change. They continue to attend events, support each other's work, and share a common vision. Their story challenges the idea that divorce must mean division. Instead, Michelle and Barack Obama prove that moving forward doesn't mean falling apart. Sometimes it just means redefining what togetherness looks like. Michelle's next chapter, a legacy of her own. Beyond her continued collaboration with Barack, Michelle Obama is forging a powerful future on her own. No longer just a former First Lady, she has become a global force, redefining what it means to transition from political influence to cultural icon. The success of becoming cemented her status as one of the most influential women of our time, proving that her impact extends far beyond the White House. And now, her next book is set to push that evolution even further, focusing on personal transformation, resilience, and navigating life's unexpected twists, offering real advice for embracing change. Her public speaking career has reached new heights. No longer standing beside Barack on a political stage, Michelle now commands the spotlight on her own, addressing massive audiences about empowerment, leadership, and defining success on your own terms. Her presence is electrifying, her words deeply personal, and her ability to connect with people has only grown stronger. But her influence isn't just about words, it's about action. Michelle has doubled down on mentorship and education, ensuring that young women across the world have the tools, education, and connections needed to shape their own futures. Through the Girls' Opportunity Alliance, an initiative under the Obama Foundation, she has expanded access to schooling and leadership training for underprivileged girls, giving them the resources and confidence to break barriers. Michelle Obama isn't just moving forward. She's setting the course for an entirely new era of leadership, on her own terms. We truly appreciate you for sticking around and watching our video. Leave a 2 in the comments to let me know you are still here with us. The real cause of divorce. For months, the internet has been buzzing with whispers of a potential split between America's most admired power couple, Barack and Michelle Obama. But when Jennifer Aniston's name entered the conversation, the rumors exploded into full-blown scandal mode. Could the former U.S. president really be involved with the Friends star? Social media certainly ran with it, and speculation spiraled out of control. Journalist Megyn Kelly added fuel to the fire, addressing the rumors on her platform with a cryptic, "I don't know if it's true, but if it is, it would be a political earthquake." Her comments only intensified the frenzy, especially as people pointed out Michelle's noticeable absence from Jimmy Carter's funeral and her decision to skip Donald Trump's inauguration, moments that now seemed like pieces of a bigger puzzle. And then came the so-called leaked message, an alleged claim from Jennifer Aniston's inner circle, stating that she had casually admitted to the relationship during a gathering. The supposed message described a conversation where the affair was discussed in front of a psychic, making it sound surreal, yet strangely specific. But Aniston was quick to shut it all down. She firmly denied any romantic involvement with Barack Obama, stating that she had only met him once and was actually closer to Michelle. Her representatives doubled down, clarifying that while she supports Obama politically, they do not share a personal friendship. Despite the relentless speculation, the Obamas have remained silent, choosing not to entertain the gossip with any official confirmation or denial. Without any real evidence, the affair rumors remain just that, rumors. But in a world obsessed with high-profile breakups, the search for a scandal never stops. The truth comes out. After weeks of wild speculation, Barack and Michelle Obama silenced the gossip in the most fitting way by posting a sweet, flirty Valentine's Day message that left no room for doubt about their relationship. 32 years together, and you still take my breath away, Barack wrote in a heartfelt post on X, formerly Twitter, featuring a cozy photo of the couple smiling lovingly at the camera. He topped it off with a simple yet powerful message: "Happy Valentine's Day, Michelle Obama." Michelle, not one to be outdone, responded with her own affectionate post, using the same selfie. If there's one person I can always count on, it's you, Barack Obama. You're my rock. Always have been. Always will be. Happy Valentine's Day, honey. The messages come after weeks of baseless speculation that the Obamas were headed for divorce, fueled by outlandish rumors of an alleged affair between Barack and Friends star Jennifer Aniston. Some even tried to connect Michelle's absence from Jimmy Carter's funeral and Trump's inauguration to the supposed drama. But the Obamas' public display of love on Valentine's Day made one thing clear. The rumors were nothing more than noise. Despite the internet frenzy, their bond remains as strong as ever. And this isn't the first time Barack has taken to social media to celebrate his wife. Just weeks earlier, he posted a loving birthday tribute on January 17th, calling Michelle the love of my life. If there was ever a message to shut down the gossip, this was it. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more exclusive takes on major stories.